What's up, guys? Welcome to another weekend vlog of Robinson Motorsports. That's Project Woods Ripper. What the hell is this? So my buddy calls me up last Saturday afternoon and says, dude, I just blew my bike up. I've had this thing for like 45 minutes and I blew it up. It's locked up tight. Can't kick it, won't move in gear. I'm like, calm down, we'll get this. Told him to pull the plug in it. Pulled the plug. It looked a little lean, but the outside was wet. So, okay, well, I don't think he grenaded it. So, well, asked him a few more questions. Can't quite remember all those. But, long story short, he brought it here, Robinson Motorsports, and I pulled the head off of it, or pulled the exhaust off of it. Looked in the intake, could see the power valve, everything looked alright. Actually see the piston. The piston looked alright. Right here. Actually it's burning nice. It's only got about 3 hours on it. So that looked good. Pulled the head off. Looked at the head. It's not peppered. So again, it still looks pretty good. Good burn. It's like, okay, well, I can see the piston, so grabbed the back of a hammer, wooden part of it, put it down on top of the piston, tapped it a couple times, see if I can get it to move, and it moved like a little bit. It's halfway in there. It's like, man, I don't know if there's anything stuck in the ports. We gotta pull the head off, or we gotta pull the cylinder off of it and just check and see if the piston will move. If the piston moves, then we know the top end's good. So, I got the cylinder right here. Everything looks good in there. So, still the crank wouldn't move. So, went ahead and said, okay, well, we're 3 bolts away from pulling this motor out right now, so we might as well pull it out. Pulled the bottom end, put it on the bench, right here, and I went to take the clutch side off. The stator side was already off, because we had to pull the clutch cable out of here, the slave cylinder off. Pull it out, put it on the stand, pulled the clutch cover off, spun it, or tried to spin it, and it's free. It's mint. It's like, okay, what just happened? I was a little confused. So, it's like, okay, well, let me check the crank bearings. Maybe something freed up with us moving it around. Went to grab onto the flywheel weight and the flywheel, and they both came off into my hands. It's like, oh, okay, here's your problem. Excuse me. Pulled that stuff off. Found this. The keyway had broken. He had mentioned that when he was hauling ass across the field, felt like he was dragging the back tire, like he was dragging a brake, or the engine was just starting to lack power. Then he rolled off of it, came to a stop, and then it locked up. What happened was, at least what I think what happened was, it's got a flywheel weight on it. I found these 4 grub screws were not contacting the outside of the flywheel. You can see there's little witness marks right there from where it was before. They weren't tight enough, so the weight, when he let off, the centrifugal force of the weight unscrewed this a little bit because it broke torque. Started unscrewing it as he was slowing down. It backed itself off so much that with the keyway broken, another reason why his timing was a little bit off, and that may have been why it was kind of feeling weird. It started hard. It was, the flywheel backed off so much that it turned sideways and it wouldn't go back in, forcing the flywheel weight up against the side of the stator cover. And I think that's what locked him up. Weird. Because all the symptoms of a blown top end. Sounded exactly like a meltdown. I was a little confused because I knew the motor only had about 3 hours on it, 3-4 hours. So it kind of sucks that it took us to almost pulling the crank, or splitting the case halves to look at the crank bearings and to figure out that it was just this flywheel weight. So good news is it only cost them about $50, if that, because we got new keyway, we got some seals, some gaskets that we really didn't need, but we're already hitting them, so it's already out. You might as well replace those while we're here. So I guess I'll be putting this together tonight. Alright, well, I got this clutch cover right here. You can see there's some Yama bond around the gasket here. He must not have been able to get it to seal very well. So I already cleaned up this edge the best that I could here. Try to get all that gasket material off of there so I can get a good seal on it. I bought a new gasket, but I'm going to show you a little trick that I do to see if this surface is flat, since this is aftermarket. I have a piece of glass here. It's actually off of one of the end tables in my living room. I've been using it for a while, so I hope nobody misses it. And basically it's just going to be a flat surface that we're going to work with. Clean this off the best that we can here. Even hit it with some brake clean. Then what we're going to do is take a piece of 800 grit wet dry sandpaper, place that down on there, and then we're just going to rub this in a circular motion to see. You can do figure eights. I just twist it every once in a while. And now you can see where some spots it's shiny and some spots it's dull. Well, guess what? Those dull spots are the low spots. So if we take our time and we sand this down till it's all nice and shiny, I bet you it'll seal up there without any gasket sealer on it and just the plain gasket. Let's get that thing back in there. Okay, so we have our piston, new circlips for the piston, the wrist pin bearing, base gasket, cylinder, power valve cover, and the head. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take and put one of these circlips in these grooves right here, just so I can put it on the crank, slide the wrist pin through, put the other one on. You don't want to lose these inside the engine, so if I can put one of them in the piston now, I won't lose it. It'll be right there in this groove. So see, I got both the tips in the groove. Take the wrist pin, click, slide it right in there. Good to go. See, we're seated all the way around. Got to make sure that thing's in there, because if it comes out, it's going to cause hell. There it is. Alright guys, I got the engine in, heads on, torque down, spark plugs gapped in there, radiator hoses are on. Haven't put any coolant in it yet, but I can do that tomorrow. I'm just going to leave this laying there. Still got to do engine mounts, put the carb on, a couple little things here and there, subframe, tank seat, rear wheel, odds and ends pipe. But it's like 2:08. I think it's time to go to bed. So, guess I'll see you guys tomorrow night.